Three, two, one, and we are live and
Live.
recording. Ruben Pillai and Sanjog Sandhu on the SHB Unfiltered podcast, episode number 6, right?
I don't know. I've only been on 2 of them, so I have no idea how many you've overall done.
Part-time, and plus you've had that mad haircut, so
yeah,
I guess you could consider yourself a completely different person. But this is number 6. We've been recording every day from lockdown, London, the city of lockdown, Quarantine FC, the only active club in the country today. Sanjay, welcome to your hair, man.
Yeah.
And where did you get that done? If everything's closed, is a barbershop class as an essential place of business?
So here's the story with my hair. I got up, right? And I got up, I walked over to the mirror, and it was all gone. Legit. That's my story that I'm going with. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. So I've had a hitting hairline for ages now. I just thought, if I'm at home for the next, 3 weeks to 3 months, I may as well shave it all off and see how it looks. And that's what I did today. And I think it looks all right, but my head was freezing outside. Like, honestly, I walked out the door and my head was so cold.
All right, dude, there's something you have to do. Can you like try to give us a 360? Because whenever you shave your hair off, it was always good to see the full thing, just to see how your head shape is. Go on.
360 coming up.
Yeah.
Can you see it? Is the chair gonna block it?
I cannot do that. Not too bad. Whenever I see someone who, whenever I see someone who's bored, I put them into 2 groups of people, and I call them Grant Mitchell or the Phil Mitchell.
Okay, and which one am I? You
are definitely Grant Mitchell.
Is that the good or the bad one? I don't know what's going on.
You should Google them.
Right.
Have a quick Google, and so these are the 2 fictional brothers on EastEnders.
EastEnders, yeah. But which one's Grant?
The taller one, bit more cheekier.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah,
and
these guys are the iconic bald people in the UK. So
that's true.
It's
all right.
Definitely something to aspire to if it's your cup of tea. But so how's your hairline now then? Like, can you still see it, or is it as in, like, when you shave it off, surely like it kind of like it makes the hairline a bit more prominent, right? Because it kind of defeats the point.
Well, I just thought, if I'm at home, like, there isn't going to be any better time to do this,
I've got 2 friends who did the same thing. For some reason, they said kind of, we're going to be stuck and we have to shave off our hair and everything. And they compared it to going into pen and just kind of like, you got your sentence. Just shave everything off. They've been training at home and just been gym and just
everything,
being bald now just for the past 3-4 days. But I'm sure it doesn't feel like that, right? I guess your shirt color is appropriate.
Red. Yeah, exactly.
So while we wait for Christopher Jackson to join us from wherever he is, wherever you are, Chris. I hope to see you soon. I've got a few questions that might be a bit salty today, but I'm just thinking, really? Shall we start off now or shall we wait for Chris? Because I'm sure he would have his own input. But you know what? Let's get cracking. What I wanted to ask is,
are they speech related or just general life related?
Kind of both in a strange way. yeah. But it will make sense when I ask you, right? So
let's go.
Why do you think there are kind of different perceptions or level of judgment from different groups in the stuttering community on people who stutter? Because you've I can't kind of speak for you and say how many people from different groups you have spoken to in the past and kind of interacted with, but from your experiences so far, what is well, first of all, can you summarize the different types of judgment you've received in the past? This is from other people who stutter as well, and your kind of your understanding of why they feel that way.
That's a good question, Ruben. Very good question. So let's start off by just saying that if you, as a person who stutters, if you ever feel judgment of anybody else, it's not actually that person who's doing the judging, it's you judging your own speech. And also, in terms of specific groups of people in the stuttering community, so who do we have? Like, which specific groups are we talking about?
All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a few code words, right? So for certain people, we're going to call them M people. What's good, Chris? What's good? So for certain people, we're going to call them M people. For certain other people,
I don't only hear, mate.
I was like,
oh yeah, sorry, Sanjog, Chris, Sanjog. If you can't recognize Sanjog is Chris.
I have no idea who this guy is.
Yeah, Chris, I think everyone is doing this for some reason. Like a few of my friends now have done the same thing, and when I scroll through my Instagram feed, I see quite a lot of bald people nowadays. But anyway, Chris, I'm gonna go backwards a bit, and the question I asked is, within the community of people who stutter, and the different groups of people, or I wouldn't say groups, but the different groups people are associated with, do you sense there's judgment from these groups, and how does the judgment differ to other people who stutter, and why do they feel that way? Sandel's going to go first. Just for the purposes of this question, we're going to use a few code words. It's very exciting. So for a certain group of people, we're going to call them the M people. For a different group of people, we're going to call them the BS people. And for the last group, we're going to call the S people. And for
who are the S people?
they're really good swimmers, put it that way. And
Oh, right.
and
Are they?
and for the last group, we're going to call them the floaters. So the ones who don't really kind of associate fully with anyone. They're kind of the fluid group. All right, Sanjog. So if you remember those code words,
Yeah.
crack on,
So
mate.
just
Spill the
want to,
beans.
I just want to clarify. It's the M group, the S group, the BS group, and the floaters. Is that right?
Let's go with the fluid group. It's a bit
Fluid
more.
group.
Yeah, it's a bit more tasteful.
All right. So let's start with the M group. So with the M group, there's a perception that out of control stuttering is like a no-no, you know? It's like if you're out of control, then you're doing something wrong. And it's almost viewed as like you're in a battle to stutter, and you almost have to stamp it out, you know.
Sandro, sorry to interrupt you, but just a quick one. So when you say the term out of control stuttering or any other terms that may seem like jargon, can you just give like a brief explanation and then carry on as you were? Cheers, man. Thanks.
All right. So when I use the term out of control stuttering, I just mean any kind of stuttering that it's the usual stuttering that you hear. Like, for example, literally everything I'm doing when I'm speaking is out of control stuttering. And if I talk about in control stuttering in terms of the M group or the S group, I would mean it would sound more like this. So it's more in control, and you use hit and holds and block releases. So
with the M group, just to summarize, they deemed that out of control stuttering is forbidden pretty much. We're not forbidden, that's a bit too extreme, but it's just it's something that should be stamped out at all costs.
Yeah, and I used to be part of the M group, and I remember after I came off of it, I just did not kind of speak to anybody on the group. I was totally ashamed of who I was, how I spoke, and more than anything, I was really hard on myself that I was unable to use the in control stuttering technique.
Christopher Jackson. So sticking on the topic of the M group, before we move on to the other ones and then see how they all kind of interplay with each other, do you have anything to add? And then maybe afterwards, give us kind of your experiences personally of kind of these groups and what they have, kind of what kind of impressions have they given to you?
Can I answer that as a stuttering community as a whole? Or do you want me to focus specifically on the M group?
As a whole is fine. As a whole is cool, mate. It's cool.
Because ever since I've been involved in the stuttering community, I was so unaware of the different groups of people within the stuttering community. When I wasn't in the stuttering community, my perception of it was that everyone who has a stutter wants to make an improvement on their speech. That was just my genuine assumption, because that's how I felt.
And was that assumption correct, by the way, before we carry on?
So the correct, what I've experienced now is that the correct grouping now is you have people that want to improve their speech, and then you have another group of people who want to accept the way that their speech is now, and they are not striving to improve their speech with any kind of speaking technique whatsoever. So you have the two groups, and I see a lot of communication in these stuttering community groups, not specifically the M and the S, because the communication between those people are all pretty much the same. But when you're talking about a general group, you're really able to see, okay, that person really wants to make improvements on his speech and he's working on it, and that person has just responded to that post from that person with a completely different mindset. And you can really see, so anyone who writes anything in these groups can get very contrasting pieces of advice from so many different people. So it is quite a confusing community to be a part of, because you can't paint us all with the same brush. And some people look at other people that want to make improvements as if they're crazy, because they don't believe they can make improvements. They don't believe that anything actually works. So they kind of shut off to you as soon as you start to talk about the fact that you are working on your speech. And then I've seen it the opposite, where people that are working on their speech, they don't really want to have too much to do with people that are not working on their speech, which I also do not agree with, because each to their own. Everyone has the right to feel how they want to about their stuff.
And just to add as well, it must be like really confusing for someone kind of like joining these Facebook groups and stuff, like completely brand new, and just harmlessly posting a question and then getting like 3 or 4 people saying different things, and then those 3 or 4 people getting into some kind of argument and stuff about kind of who's right and who's wrong, when in the end they're all stuttering, right? As in,
yeah,
there's no secret. There's a reason why they are in those Facebook groups, and yeah, they're passionate people, but like from what I've seen, like people don't really read what people are posting, and if they have a question, they aren't really addressing the question. They're kind of pushing their own agendas forward, whether they're from like the M group or the BS group.
Or they're just trying to see it as a platform. Trying to see it as a platform to just push whatever they believe in.
And then like if someone's had like one personal bad experience from either of these groups, then that's their like, oh, that's my cue. It's time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's my time to shine. Let's go.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of hate. You know, like there's a lot of anger in every single type of group. And at the end of the day, everybody has a stutter, right? So like, we should all be trying to help each other and support each other, irrespective of which specific speech therapy or no therapy we're doing. You know, like it's a stuttering community, so we should all act like a stuttering community, supporting, helping, and if people are asking for it, giving advice as well, right?
Yeah, well, as in people do that, but there are certain kind of sacrifices you have to make, and you essentially have to conform to kind of one of the groups, like in order to actually be part of a community. Because if you don't do that, then you will just be part of like the fluid group, which is essentially like you dabble in kind of some of the activities and chats in the stuttering community, but essentially you are continuing on with how your actual life is going, and there isn't any real change or added value. But I feel that if things were a bit more transparent and people were a bit more honest with each other within these groups, whoever sees kind of these different parts of the stuttering community, they can find a group that fits their purposes. If they just want like to meet people and just chat to other people with similar kind of things going on, then they can join one of them. If they want to take a bit more action and get better at speaking in different ways, then they can join a different group that caters for that. But people are too fixed on like forcing their own will and their own beliefs on people. It really annoys me. But that's kind of part of the reason why I've stepped away from Facebook for a bit. And it's really, really weird because I went back on it when we started doing the live feeds and the formats all changed as well. It looks a bit weird, but there's so much hate in those groups. I don't like it. Going on to the next questions to you both. What kind of personal experiences have you had from these kind of different groups? So we've talked kind of generally, theoretically about them in general. Have you got any specific experiences? So like, we aren't just talking about these groups from things you've heard or seen. Has anything happened to you that you kind of thought, hang on a minute, that's weird? Whichever one of you wants to go first, just put your hand up.
I could go first.
There you go. Oh, you were start.
I've had an experience. I wasn't part of this group for that long, really, and just because of the people that I was associated with, nothing ever happened directly to me, but I just felt like there was a bit of an atmosphere to the point where I felt uncomfortable to continue within that group. I also noticed that, how do I say this? So I also noticed that other people that were not directly a part of the people that the people I was associated with had an issue with, but other people, just because I wasn't part of the group anymore, I could see that they went from talking to me quite often, just contacting me for a general catch up, general chat, get a bit of advice, share experiences. They went from not contacting me at all. And also just like petty things like stop liking my photos on Instagram. I know it's really petty, but it went from liking every single photo and being quite interactive to not interacting at all. They're still following, so I can still see people view my stories and stuff, but they're not interacting at all, which is a shame, because I like to think that friendships with people is more than speech. It's not just because you have a stutter and I have a stutter. There has to be another level to the friendship. So that's just my personal experience. But listen, it happens. I just feel like people have the right to join a group, pay for their participation within that group, and they can get what they want out of the group. And it doesn't mean that they have to act a certain way within that group. They can remove themselves, they can jump back in, but it doesn't always work out like that. But that was just my personal experience.
Sandy, you're up.
That's me. So, only experience I've had is the M group, and I just want to say that, like, I have nothing love for everybody on that program. I was struggling in 2017. I struggled in 2018, and every time I was struggling, I had people calling me up, trying to help me, and I always felt supported. And I just think that the M group has a fantastic support network, and a lot of the people on that group are awesome. So that's my experience with the group. I personally chose not to actually call anybody up after I quit, and the only reason that happened was because I was so ashamed of my real speech and my real stuttering that I just couldn't face the embarrassment or the shame that I thought would come from the call had I picked up the phone and tried to speak to anybody from the M group. Yeah, and however, the only person who was actually judging my speech was me. So all that shit's on me, and it's stuff that I've had to deal with over the last few months.
Cheers, lads. That was very interesting from the both of you, because from the experiences I've had with kind of like speaking to different people and being amongst the different groups, it can get very tribal at times, and with every tribe, things are really good when you're in the tribe and when you're there and stuff, but then on the outside, perspectives are different. And I've had the fortune of being amongst some really good people from all sets of the community and from different groups. But at the same time, I have also experienced being on the fringes at times, and being on the outside, and in a weird way having to answer questions and vindicate certain things, like my association to certain people. I'm still in contact with a few people from the M group, and they're great people. I have plenty of time for them and stuff, but in like a weird way, back in the past, this may sound extremely basic, but with things like on Facebook, I could just post a picture of paint drying, and it will get liked by like 30 to 40 people from that group. And then after you step away from that group, you can post something of like something else on Facebook that could be really, really good, and nothing. And like instead, like, you just get DMs from these guys. They're saying, "Oh my god, like, that's really, really good," blah blah blah. And to be honest, don't take it like I'm kind of seeking likes and the follows and all that crap. That part's kind of that's the byproduct, right, of posts and the work that you do. And but it seems a bit weird, and in the same way I feel sorry for them that they are unable to express themselves, because for some reason they may fear judgment from their tribe if they are actively supporting something that's outside of their remit, if that makes sense. But that's my 2 cents, my 50 cent. Sorry, the reason why I mentioned that, we just started Power, so I've just been getting really into Power, and we just reached season 3. Excellent series for anyone into American drama, and if you have Netflix. I'm going to switch over to the live feed where Leah's got a question, but it's not for me. It's for Sanjog. Sanjog, can you see the question?
And jog. Yeah, so Leo's asking, how have you transformed yourself to not feeling bad when you stutter? Good question, Leo. Look, that's me. That's me, my big, shiny, bald head.
Leo, if you got a haircut like Sanjog, as in...
That's the key. That's the key.
Starring is the least you worry, so don't worry.
So yeah, like I used to fucking hate my stutter. Like, hate. I would avoid it. I would swap words. I would try any kind of physical technique, you know, to cover up the blocks, let's say. But I've been working with an emotional acceptance coach for the last couple of months, and essentially what that process involves is you let any negative feelings come up, you observe them, you feel them, and because you feel the feelings, they eventually dissipate. And the only problem, I don't care what anyone says, only problem with blocks is how you feel about them. There's no problem in speaking like this. The only issue is how you feel about speaking like that, right? So I realized I had to deal with all my shame, guilt, self-hate, and anger, sadness, frustration, all that shit. It's like the iceberg analogy, isn't it? Here's the stuttering, and then everything underneath is all the negative emotion. So over the last few months, I've been doing a lot of emotional acceptance. And specifically what I do when I block, well, I try and do it. I don't always do it because it's still easy to be like, fuck, and just panic. But I try and just slow down and bring my attention to the present moment and the emotion specifically, because behind every block, there's an emotion somewhere. So I try and feel that, and then let that go. And I have noticed that the more I do that, the less I care about the stuttering, and as a consequence, the less the stutter actually manifests itself. Yeah, I think that's my stop tour on emotional acceptance for Leo.
Thank you
Can
very
I
much,
ask you
Sandro.
a question, though, Sandro?
Go on, Chris.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question? So you said the only issue with a block is how we feel about the block and how we feel to talk like that, yeah?
Yeah.
But what would you say to someone that said, well, no, the issue that I have with the block is how people react, or how they might be trying to rush me, or how I'm not able to quite capture their attention for long enough for them to be engaged in the conversation?
Yeah. Well, still, even in that specific situation, the issue is how you feel about the other person who's not engaged, or it's how you feel about the other person who's judging you. And I'd actually go one step further and say that 95% of our problems in life is 95% of all of our problems actually stem from how we feel about a specific situation, or how we feel about ourselves. So in my opinion and in my experience, the solution to actually getting over any issue is to let yourself feel that negative feeling and just let it go.
That's a great point, Sandro, because I believe that everything is perspective. What we see as problems living in the UK, in London, even though we are in quarantine, self-isolation, a lockdown, we are fortunate to be where we are. There's places all around the world in turmoil and struggle. However, problems are perspective, because these people in different countries, war-torn countries, they would trade your problems for their problems in an instant. So that's what we have to really understand. Just it's okay to have problems, and it's okay to feel shit about it, but try to see the bigger picture and put your problems into perspective and then tackle them. I'm going to shift focus again. So we've got a really good question from our friend of SHB, Alex Kuzmenko. Happy to see you, friends. Yo, what's the difference between a trick and a technique? So before I tell you guys the answer, what do you guys think? I'm joking, go on. Spread the love, boys.
CJ, do you want to take this one?
Oh, that classic technique, that classic
what?
Go ahead, Sam.
Been in many group interviews.
I do.
yeah, you know. It's like, oh, how about you take this one and then you take the next one?
You know what? That's a perfect example of a trick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So CJ, what were you gonna say?
What was I gonna say? I would say that the main difference between a technique and a trick is, for me personally, a technique is used proactively and a trick is used reactively. I feel like tricks are not long lasting at all. When I used to use tricks, a trick would work a treat for me for a certain amount of time, then it would stop working. I'd have to find a new trick. I feel like a technique is something that you adopt, something that you make part of your new lifestyle when working on your speech. And it isn't something that you use and drop as and when you wish.
Mate, that might be even better than the answer I had.
Yeah.
I'm going to say quite Sanjog.
So for me, I think that the difference between a trick and a technique is, again, how you feel when you're using it. Like, if you're using a trick to hide your stutter, it's generally kind of shrouded in that, you know, that of avoidance mentality of, oh, I don't want to be seen as a person who stutters, and I'm gonna like do this with my fingers, or I'm gonna fucking like do some weird shit to get the word out at any cost. But like, if you're using a speech technique, you're usually using it in a more calm and confident manner, and specifically in terms of the S group and the M group's techniques, you also show the listener that you are a person who stutters, so automatically you're not hiding the very fact that you're a person who stutters.
Sorry. You finish?
I had a little bit extra, but
Go on.
Say it. I was like, nah, no holding back. No holding back. However, I also think that anything that isn't like normal, natural speech is a form of a trick. I personally think that.
Mate, you threw a spanner in everything you just said.
I know.
Like, Chris is shaking his head and
I would love for you to put that in one of the Stammering communities and see the fire that comes at you.
It's going so well. You know, if there's one way of bringing the community together, add that kind of comment.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was holding back on saying that, because it completely contradicted my entire answer. So take from that what you will, everyone who's listening.
All right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take what the two of you said, I'll put it together, and then ask you a follow-up question on Alex's one.
Hold on.
Go on.
Hold on. What's your opinion on it?
It's pretty much the same thing. I did want to rinse and repeat, but essentially a trick is kind of, for me, something that you do automatically that you've done before to avoid it, but a technique is something that you proactively use, and you have kind of a conscious attitude of working on your speech in that moment. So with that follow-up question, sorry, do you guys think then that based on the statements that you gave regarding trick versus technique, is that why the S and the M program are a lot more successful than people who've gone through speech therapists? Because my experiences of speech therapy, classic speech therapy, has essentially been trying to hide your stutter. But the S and the M program kind of the underlying message is to advertise. Do you guys agree, disagree, or have anything to add on top of that?
I don't know if I agree with that, really, because you said, is that why the M and the S groups are more successful than standard speech therapy? Are you asking if they are more successful, or are you making the assumption that they are more successful and the reason why is because of that?
The second one. So I'm saying is the reason why they're more successful is because speech therapy is based around fluency shaping, which is essentially the opposite of having an advertised mentality, right?
Yeah, so I personally agree with that. I personally believe that they are more successful because they are encouraging you to actively display and show to your listener that you have got a stutter. Whereas your standard speech therapy is trying to get rid of stuttering altogether, which I personally think that if you try to take that route, you are probably going to be in for a lot of disappointment, and your expectations are not going to be managed very well, and then you are going to fall off. So, yeah.
Sandy.
I don't know. So
here we go.
I don't think that the M group or the S group have a particularly high success rate anyway. I understand it's advertised as like 70%, but I was on it for like 3 to 4 years, and I never saw like loads of the new students you just never see again. You know, there's no way it's 70%. Like, that's not a fair trial. If you speak to people like 2 years in, then ask them, do you feel like it's been a success? And then we'll see what the real percentage is. I would bet it's like 10%, maybe 20.
You didn't see them again because they flipping smashed it, and now they're taking over the world. That's why I didn't see him again.
Yeah, I mean, potentially that happens. Like, an example of that happening is an ex-stutterer called Alan Badminton. Badminton. Have you heard of him?
No, I haven't actually. But,
you haven't heard of this guy?
I haven't heard of him either.
Carry on. Go on. Talk about the legend of
Alan Badminton. Yeah. So he joined the McGuire program ages ago, like 2000 and whatever, and he was able to use the technique to let go of stuttering, and he became a fluent person. So that's a good example of the McGuire program smashing it, but that doesn't happen to anyone else, really. You know?
Yeah, but wait, so he used the technique to let go?
Like, yeah,
it's called the M program, by the way. But yeah.
What did I call it?
Don't worry. You called it something else, but it's fine. It's all good.
I don't think I did.
We're gonna rewatch it, but
yeah, no, I'm 100% that I never said any words, like specific names.
So make a bet.
Yeah, Yeah, yeah.
Actually, no point because you already
No.
shaved
Don't
your
joke.
hair.
Don't take the bet. Trust me.
No?
Don't take
What,
the
can I
bet.
say something?
Chris Sharp, man.
Trust me. Don't
Hey,
take the bet. Don't take the
you need
bet.
to make some money on the
Trying
side
to save
during
you from
lockdown.
yourself.
I bet.
I don't think I said it.
I bet you 3 toilet rolls.
All right, yeah.
3 toilet rolls.
All right. Where do you live, Ruben?
I'm Croydon, South London. South London, mate.
Mate, I can't. Like, how the hell am I gonna get 3 toilet rolls all the way from Buckinghamshire all the way to Croydon? Like, how am I gonna do that?
It's up to you to work out.
That's why I advise you to not take the bet, because you're gonna struggle to get them all the way to Croydon.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. So what I was saying about this guy, right? So essentially, he went on a particular program that preaches control, and he used it to lose all control and release himself of stuttering. So when you talk about success rates and stuff, so he's probably kind of the outlier. But when I was talking about success rates, I was thinking more in the sense of getting someone from, I could say, like very kind of intense stuttering / self-esteem problems, blah, 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 blah. But then you manage to give them a few techniques and really good experiences for them to actually do some mad shit with it, and then think, oh crap, I can do this now, and then start to flourish. But then obviously at some point they will hit like a setback and kind of revert back, but they won't really ever truly go back to that starting point. Some people may get close to that point if they are like away for that long and just feel really shit about themselves. But quite a few other people on that kind of the main bit of the curve, they would be fluctuating within kind of a range, right? So they will not be really close to where they started, but they will struggle to hit the heights of their peak again. But the point I was trying to make is that's still a lot better than standard speech therapy, where you see boss man like kind of every 2 weeks for like a month and a bit, and then that's it.
Yeah, but if the whole
No, after you, CJ.
Sorry, don't go back. No, what I was going to say is, if the fluctuation is inevitable, Ruben, then how do we define if the course has been successful or not? Because what I find speaking to different people is, especially people that jump from course to course to course, they lower their expectations on what they want to achieve out of it every course they jump to. So the next course, they're not expecting as much as they did out of the first course. And then the third course, they're not expecting as much as they were out of the first 2 courses. But then that's harsh on the first course they tried, because if they had the end mindset, if they had the same mindset as what they had going into the 5th course, when they were going into the first course might have actually allowed them to achieve that. So how are we defining and how are we measuring success here if the fluctuation is inevitable after you've come off of that course?
It really depends on what exactly you are judging. If I think about kind of the way I assess my speech throughout a day, I would not be looking at kind of like every single interaction with someone. Like, to be honest, like if I go to order my coffee in the morning, and if I start blocking a bit on Black Americano and and it doesn't come out kind of like the way it has been the previous day or the day before that. Like I work through it, and I apply the techniques where I can. But if I'm actually blocking, then well, all right, then I still get my coffee, right? But the main thing is I kind of like have a presentation at work a few hours later. I've got to smash that, and if I block when I get my coffee but smash that presentation, then like other people are stopping at the coffee and killing themselves over like small losses, the micro failures. I'm thinking bigger picture, like what really matters to you. Doesn't matter. As in, it doesn't matter if you can't order your ice cream at the van. It depends, right? Sorry, Chris, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, what you're basically saying is it depends on that individual what they wish to achieve out of it. Are they looking to be able to get through the everyday life scenario of ordering the coffee, or do they want it to implement when they're about to make a speech in front of 100 people? So what you're saying is if it works for them and they're able to smash the speech, but they struggle to order their coffee, it still had a positive impact on them. The course is still a success, right?
Well, yeah. Because that's what I see, because that is something I would not have been able to do like a long time ago, but now can do now. Sometimes I still block on the times when I get my coffee, but to be honest, like, yeah, okay, so I've got to start. Just it's who I am, right? But I'm thinking about the big moments in life, because you're gonna have so many small moments, but when you look back, you'll be thinking about the big moments. Go on, mate.
I think this is where it's harsh on the standard speech and language therapy, because I tended to try that first before any of these I'd call them non-NHS route speech and language therapy programs. We tried the standard one first, but we don't have that mindset. We don't have that mindset that we just want to improve our speech on a bigger scale. We are focused on the micro when we are going through the standard conventional speech therapy. So I do believe that is one reason why a lot of people say, the standard speech therapy doesn't work. When we go to these bigger programs, we've already tried that. So our mindset is already shifted, and we kind of enter them thinking, if I can just be able to get through my day at work and get through the majority of the tasks and my speech is okay, then I'll consider this a success. And because they achieve that on the other courses that they try after, then it's very easy for everyone to say, that speech therapy wasn't a success, that course wasn't a success, but this was a success. But they're not looking at the shift in the mindset throughout the different courses, like you were just describing then.
Something really small, and it may seem trivial, that I want to add. It's actually a reference to a footballer as well. Do you lads remember Gomez, the German striker? Mario Gomez?
Yeah.
So I've got a statistic. So this is from the Euros in 2012. Flipping random, I'm so sorry. But this, like, their first group game. So they were in a tough group. And they had their first game against the Dutch, a strong team as well, in 2012, with Van Persie, Robin, Schneider, all those jokers, right? Mario Gomez, he played striker for the entire game, he touched the ball 5 times. Did he have a good game? He touched the ball 5 times in 1.5 hours of flipping football.
Yeah, and how did he score? All of them, right? Or not?
Mate, he touched the ball 5 times, and you're asking how many times did he score?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had 3 shots. He scored 2 goals, isn't it? I mean, like,
see, there you go. So
flipping sniper, man. Look, but if you think about it, when a footballer touches the ball 5 times, how many seconds does he have the ball for? I can tell.
Not very many.
So what was he doing for the rest of the other 1.5 hours? Just making the numbers, and
it depends though.
But yeah, he'll be doing runs, dropping back, pulling people away, etc., etc. But he won't be doing the core bit, which is actually getting on the ball and making things happen in and around the box. And the point of that is, think about the amount of times like he must have made a run, but the ball didn't come to him, or he got bossed off the ball by a defender. Now, for me, that's the blocks and the freezes you have when you're getting your coffee in the morning, when you're getting your breakfast in the morning, or just asking questions to someone in the morning. But he stayed in the game, just kept going, and then when the big moments came, he took it. 3 shots, 2 goals, and he won the game for them. And like when I think about stop holding back, I think our focus is the big moments, getting people to master the big moments, and then we coach them to sort out the small moments as they progress over the months and years. But if you focus on the small moments now, you're always fighting a losing battle. You will always be losing, because I can tell you now, like if I was thinking about that now, we wouldn't get to episode 6 today. I would have cut this down to episode 1 on the weekend. So that's what it's all about for me. You get me?
I get you.
I
feel you. I feel you, Ruben. I feel you. And yeah, I also think it is important to count the small wins as well. Small wins as well, you know. Like a personal highlight for me has been ordering a Starbucks, and if they ask me my name, I've been able to say it.
Have they spelled it right though? Because I still have that problem.
They've literally never spelled it right.
Hey, Starbucks, yeah, sort yourselves out, because some of the spelling I've seen is flipping atrocious.
Yeah.
Just for your sake, look, my name is not Robin.
Robin.
Or Ruben. Yeah, it's Ruben.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's all good. It's all good. I think I was pretty much done anyway, to be honest.
CJ, any deep and insightful words from your side of the block?
In terms of going for the big moments, I think that's what's really important, because that's pushing what I like to call the meaningful comfort zones. The day-to-day things, if we can train our mind to let them go, if they don't go to plan, then it isn't going to impact on our belief system too much. But when we get a success in that big moment, that big speech, that big presentation, that job interview, when we get success in that, that's when our whole belief system and our attitude towards our startup begins to change. So to focus on that, it's not just about that being a success. It's about coaching people to the point where they're prepared to take on that big moment. And like, if we are going to look at it like a sports mentality, that's what separates the superstars to the casual players. The superstars are prepared to step up and take the penalty in the penalty shootout in the final, and the others are not, but they'll still want to stand there and celebrate once that superstar has put the ball in the back of the net, but they wasn't willing to step up to the plate. And it's just, at SHB, we just want to coach people into becoming that superstar that's prepared to step up to the plate no matter what happens, no matter if they stutter or not.
Man, that was beautiful, man.
I hate this guy.
Man,
I hate this guy.
that was straight out of Hackney Marshes, man. You can tell Chris is a proper Sunday League footballer.
Well, I hate you.
But that level of experience under his belt. Lads, just some parting words from me. Gonna switch over to the feed. Ayo Adesanya says, Sanjo, you look like Goldberg with your bald head.
Thanks, Ayo. Thanks, man. Really appreciate that comment.
I personally think with a couple of studs, he'll be a bit more of a Prince Albert. But if you guys remember who Prince Albert is.
Who you look like? I've just worked out who you look like.
Heisenberg.
Sebastian Veron.
You think?
One Seba, yeah, a bit. One Seba.
Yeah, 100.
Think?
Yeah,
Let me
I
just
can see it.
Google him.
Chris, do you remember that period when I think it was Stephen Ireland, he got injured, so he was on the bench for Villa for some time, and he picked up a beard like that, and he's got the same head shape as Sanjo. Stephen Ireland.
I don't remember that.
Absolute legend, mate. Leo dropped a message on the feed as well, says he has been to Starbucks and they've been pretty good with his name because it's pretty straightforward, right? But
his name's so easy. Leo. Yeah. How do you spell that? Like EQLEO or something?
Yeah, you can't get that wrong. Can you? Leo also said Chris is on fire today. Yes.
Oh, I'm on fire.
Brat. Fire in the booth. Okay. Before we wrap up, just thought I'd ask you guys to just drop a mention of maybe a highlight of your day or your week. It could be extremely trivial, as we are flipping stuck in our houses until further notice. And Santo, you can't mention the haircut.
What? Why not? That's a huge change.
I said something positive. But yeah. Go
right.
for it.
So something good that's happened to me.
Santo, go for it. Yeah.
Something good that's happened to me is that I've volunteered to be a call responder for the NHS. So I'm literally going to be on the phone all day for work, starting apparently tomorrow. So yeah, that should be a nice speaking challenge, and I'll be able to speak to lots of people who actually need the help.
Mate, that's amazing, and screw the speaking challenge.
Yeah, fun that.
That's actually like you are doing a massive service to the country and stuff, and we look forward to speaking to you again and asking questions about your experiences. after you mentioned it, I actually signed up as well. So I thought I'd jump on the bandwagon. I put my name down for that and for driving around as well, because I've got a friend who's on the vulnerable list. So he's stuck at home for the next 12 weeks. So I thought it would be a good chance to, if I'm allowed to, like take some stuff to his house. I'll get to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but massive respect. I look forward to hearing back from your experiences chatting to the British public on 111 lockdown city.
I'll just be like, guys, it's gone so bad. I hate them all.
Let's see by the end of your calls how many people shave off their hair.
Come on, guys, it's fucking great.
That's the new pandemic. Chris.
Yeah.
One positive.
One positive. One positive that happened to me today is I had an opportunity to have a speaking challenge at work. A phone call came in, which I haven't had one of them for over a week. But a work phone call came in, and it was a guy from a company called Credit Safe. Don't know if anyone's heard of it, but basically a few companies have credit checked our company, and it was a call for him to verify all of our details, which is always a challenge. But then it turned into a sales call for him to sell me the service. So anyone that we work with, I can credit check them. So I was on the phone to him for over an hour, for about an hour and 15 minutes. So it was a good opportunity that I was seeking for speaking opportunity. So that was positive, because I've been really trying to get a positive speaking experience under my belt, because I haven't had many of those unless it's been part of the Stammering community. So that was my small win for the day.
Nice, Chris.
Fantastic, Chris. Beautiful as always.
Hi, man.
No, I'm being serious. I'm not being sarcastic. No, definitely with those experiences, it's important to reflect on them, because we think and we reflect so much on our negative experiences. Let's do the same with the positive ones and reinforce those as well. So good work, Chris. So before we leave, my massive positive is actually probably getting to episode 6 of this thing that we're doing, and I have to say a big thanks to 2 of you, and Ao and Rahul, who was on yesterday. I think statistically, podcasts like generally the crunch point is the 6th episode. So that's kind of where, as in, people may tail off and stop, or people carry on. So that's why I thought I'd mention it now. This is a kind of like momentous day for everyone with SHB, because we are creating something special here, something for everyone. And those of you who are tuning in on the Facebook feed and like you missed the bulk of it, these are uploaded to the Stop Holding Back YouTube channel every day. You can play it back, play portions. We'll be chopping these up in the future and pulling out bits and stuff like that. So please support the YouTube channel. Please support the social media outlets, and please support us as we carry on. I think Sandra's getting anxious. So he's getting aggressive.
Leave, guys.
He's getting very aggressive. So
can't even wrap this up, man.
All right. So thank you very much to everyone watching on the Facebook Live feed. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to Sandra. And if I don't do this, Ao will kill me. Ao will kill me. Guys, stop holding back.
So cheesy.
Cheers, everyone.
Very
All right,
cheesy.
Cheers, Sandra.
Cheers, everyone. See you later, Chris and Ruben.
I love you all. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Yeah.
you. Love you too.